Hello everyone. They say never meet your heroes because they might not live up to your expectations. We have 10 heroes for you today that you have absolutely no chance of ever meeting. That's because they're dead. But were they as heroic and squeaky clean as they would have liked us to believe? Maybe, maybe not. It was easier to maintain a clean image in the past than it is now. So let's embark on this journey together and uncover the truth behind the public image of some of history's most significant characters. After all, nobody's perfect. Some just have better PR. Number 10 on our list is Steve Jobs. The man behind the iconic Apple logo, Steve Jobs revolutionized the tech world. From the Macintosh computer to the iPhone, his visionary approach reshaped how society interacts with technology. Yet, behind the sleek devices and brilliant presentation was a man of intense contradictions. Colleagues and employees often bore the brunt of his perfectionism, recounting stories of Jobs being incredibly demanding, occasionally bordering on the cruel. Jobs was not the cool, new age boss he liked to portray. He had a reputation for creating a reality-distorted field, where he convinced himself and others around him that almost any fact or situation could be bent to his will, regardless of the truth. But hey, maybe he just missed a software update on his own personality. On a personal level, his relationship with his daughter, Lisa Brennan Jobs, was complicated. Despite being a multimillionaire, he denied paternity for years, leading Lisa and her mother to live on state benefits for a while. While he did acknowledge her, their relationship remained strained, with Lisa recounting instances of his emotional detachment in her memoir. Steve Jobs, while a genius in the realm of technology and business, was a deeply complex individual whose interpersonal relationships often showcased his challenges in empathizing and connecting on a human level. While his products were user-friendly, he himself not so much. He did come to realise the error of his ways through the end of his life, but by then it was probably too late. Jobs himself never really got to enjoy the fruits of his life's work due to his obsessive pursuit of his goals. There's a lesson there for us all. Number 9 is Coco Chanel. The iconic fashion designer revolutionized women's fashion in the 20th century. Her creations, from the little black dress to the classic Chanel suit, have left an indelible mark on the fashion world, emphasizing simplicity, elegance, and liberation. However, Chanel's life was not just about fashion revolutions. It was also fraught with controversies that would feed modern-day tabloids with juicy stories for months. Notably, during World War II, she was alleged to have been a Nazi collaborator. Chanel's affair with Hans Gunther von Dinklage, a German officer during the war, raised many eyebrows. More damningly, classified French documents released decades later suggest that old Chanel might have been a spy for German intelligence, with her own codename, Westminster. While her exact role and motivation during this tumultuous period remain subjects of debate, these allegations make her seem more like a James Bond villain than a fashion icon. Beyond her wartime activities, Chanel's personal views also drew criticism. She was known for her anti-Semitic beliefs, which became especially significant given the backdrop of World War II and the Holocaust. Coco Chanel's influence on fashion is undeniable, but her personal and political choices cast a shadow on the legacy of this design legend. Number 8, Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar's legacy in the annals of history is colossal, immortalized as a military genius who expanded the reaches of the Roman Republic and brought vast territories under its dominion. But beneath these grand conquests lies a narrative marred by ambition, cruelty, and autocracy. People in general who invade other countries do tend to suffer from these kind of personality defects. Comes with the territory, as they say. In his Gallic wars, Caesar didn't just triumph over the Gauls, he decimated them. Historians estimated that he killed or enslaved 1 million Gauls, amounting to a significant percentage of the population. This campaign was driven as much by personal ambition as it was by the Republic's interest, showcasing his lust for power and glory. His return to Rome saw him crossing the Rubicon, a deliberate act that plunged the Republic into a civil war and eventually culminated in Caesar's dictatorship. His assumption of the title perpetual dictator is symbolic of his autocratic tendency. The clue is in the name, I suppose. While his reforms of public works benefited Rome, his concentration of power in his own hands led to the eventual assassination that marked the Ides of March. Number 7, Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, canonized as Saint Teresa of Calcutta, stands as an emblem of selflessness and service to the destitute. Her mission in the slums of Calcutta touched countless lives, offering solace to the dying, the sick and the orphaned. However, this beacon of compassion is not without shadows. Detractors point to the substandard conditions in her hospice. The missionaries of charity, her order, often lacked proper medical equipment, adequate treatment methods and pain management for the patients, unless you consider prayer as a form of anaesthetic. This raised ethical concerns about the quality of care provided. Her belief in the redemptive power of suffering meant that many were left without pain relief, a practice that drew criticism from the medical community. Additionally, Mother Teresa's unwavering Catholic conviction led her to vociferously oppose contraception and abortion, even in situations rife with poverty and overpopulation, where family planning might have been beneficial. While her dedication to the impoverished is commendable, her methodologies and beliefs have been challenged as being overly dogmatic and at times just a tad old-fashioned. Mother Teresa remains a complex figure, emblematic of deep compassion, yet also a symbol of certain controversial religious and medical stances. Number 6, Henry Ford. Henry Ford's name is synonymous with the automotive revolution. Ford coined the phrase, "You can have any colour you want as long as it's black." That was a good one. His introduction of assembly line production transformed not only the car industry, but modern manufacturing as a whole, making automobiles affordable and accessible to the masses. However, the shadow of Ford's personal beliefs darkens his innovative legacy. Deeply embedded in Ford's history is a troubling record of anti-Semitism. He financed the publication of the Dearborn Independent, which for years disseminated anti-Semitic propaganda, including promoting the notorious forgery, The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. His beliefs weren't confined to print. Ford's company was accused of discriminatory hiring and promotional practices against Jews. While he was forward-thinking with cars, he was stuck in reverse with his HR practices. Ford's influence was so profound that he received the Grand Cross of the German Eagle, a Nazi medal in the 1930s, never going to be a good look. Although he later apologised for the Dearborn Independent and its contents, the damage was already done, with his publications influenced generations of anti-Semites, including notably Adolf Hitler. While Ford's contribution to the modern industry was undeniable, like a car with a few dents, his legacy had some notable imperfections, to put it mildly. He's a reminder that even great innovators can have a faulty moral compass. Number 5, Winston Churchill. To many, Winston Churchill epitomised the indomitable spirit of Britain during World War II. His rousing speeches and staunch resistance to Nazi Germany inspiring an entire nation. Yet behind this grand image lies a more contentious history, especially when viewed from the former British colonies. Churchill's tenure during the Bengal famine of 1943 is particularly debated. As millions of Indians faced starvation, decisions made under his leadership either failed to alleviate or exacerbated this crisis. Food supplies were diverted away from India for wartime needs, despite there being enough grain in India to feed the starving populace. His reported response to the famine underscores deep-seated prejudices, once remarking that the famine was the fault of the Indian people for breeding like rabbits. Beyond this, Churchill held imperialist views, often belittling colonised nations and people, and advocating for the use of chemical weapons on uncivilised tribes in the past. While his leadership during World War II is undeniably commendable, his actions and attitudes towards the colonies, especially during events like the Bengal famine, taint his legacy, presenting a multifaceted character that's both hero and antagonist. depending on the lens through which one views history. Number 4, Thomas Jefferson. One of the United States' founding fathers, Jefferson's legacy is profoundly influential, particularly as the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, which championed the ideas of liberty and equality. Yet his personal life painted a contrasting picture. Jefferson was a prominent Virginia planter who owned over 600 slaves throughout his life, exploiting their labour for his Monticello estate and other properties. His paradoxical stance becomes even more pronounced when considering his relationship with Sally Hemings, one of his slaves. DNA evidence and historical records suggest that Jefferson fathered several children with Hemings, maintaining a long-term relationship that inherently involved significant power imbalances. While he penned that all men are created equal, his ownership of slaves and the systemic perpetuation of slavery, which in many ways he supported or tolerated, speaks to a deep inconsistency between his public proclamations and private actions. This contradiction underscores the complexity of Jefferson's character. A champion of liberty who simultaneously denied freedom to hundreds and had an intimate relationship mired in the dynamic of power and enslavement. Number 3, Richard Wagner. In the world of classical music, few names loom as large as Richard Wagner. His operas, characterised by the intricate leaf motifs and epic scales, revolutionised the art form. The Ring Cycle, a series of 4 operas stretching over 15 hours, is a testament to his grand ambitions and innovations. Yet while his musical contributions are undeniably profound, Wagner's personal beliefs cast a pall over his legacy. Central to this is his deeply rooted anti-Semitism. Wagner's essay, Judaism in Music, is a vitriolic critique of Jewish culture and influence in German arts. His contention that Jews were incapable of true artistic expression, and his portrayal of them as destructive to German culture, became foundational texts for subsequent anti-Semitic ideologies. This vilification wasn't merely theoretical. It permeated his operas, with characters like Mime and Siegfried believed to perpetuate negative Jewish stereotypes. Wagner's belief found admirers in dangerous quarters, with Adolf Hitler being an avowed fan, often using Wagner's music in Nazi propaganda. Today, this association means Wagner's music remains a subject of contention, especially in Israel, where public performance of his work were unofficially banned for decades. The brilliance of Wagner's music is undeniable, but so too is the shadow of his bigotry. Number 2, Christopher Columbus. Widely celebrated as the man who discovered America, Columbus's voyages marked the beginning of European exploration and colonization of the Americas. However, beneath this monumental achievement lies a murkier history. On his voyages, particularly in the Caribbean, Columbus and his men encountered indigenous Taino people. The subsequent interactions were far from harmonious. Columbus subjected the Taino to extreme violence, forced labour, and enslavement. As a governor, his rule was characterised by cruelty, leading to significant Taino population declines from disease introduced by the Europeans, warfare, and harsh working conditions. Furthermore, in his quest for gold and riches, Columbus's brutal tactics, including mutilating those who didn't bring enough gold and using indigenous people as hunting dogs. These atrocities, coupled with the mass spread of disease like smallpox, led to the demographic collapse of the native Taino population. Columbus's endeavours, while groundbreaking for European colonial and mercantile interests, cast a dark shadow on indigenous populations, whose suffering has often been overshadowed by grand tales of discovery and adventure. Number 1 on our list is Mahatma Gandhi. Revered as the father of the nation in India, Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of non-violent resistance, or satyagraha, was pivotal to India's struggle for independence from British colonial rule. His dedication to harmony, truth and simplicity inspired millions worldwide. However, as with all great leaders, his life had its controversies. In South Africa, some of Gandhi's early writings and public statements reflect a sense of racial superiority over black Africans. His advocacy for Indian rights sometimes positioned Indians as superior to Africans, a perspective that has drawn criticism. In his personal life, Gandhi's experiment with celibacy has raised concerns. To test his vow of chastity, he often slept beside young women, including his own grandniece. Okay. These experiments have been critiqued as being inappropriate and exploitative. Gandhi also had stringent dietary practices, sometimes to the detriment of his own health and those close to him. He famously undertook several hunger strikes as political tools, but also imposed his dietary beliefs on those in his ashram, occasionally leading to ill health. Gandhi, while an icon of peace and resistance, remains a multifaceted figure whose actions and beliefs at times diverge from the principles he championed. Okay, I hope you enjoyed our examples of historical figures that have may fallen short of 10 out of 10 in terms of the content of their character. Tune in next time for more historical tidbits.